Hello, and welcome to this special edition of Tell America. I'm your host, James E. Yaney. Today our show is dedicated to the students of Henley Middle School in Crozet, Virginia, and Mrs. Marcy Klug. We want to thank them for making the Chosin Reservoir their historic copy of the project that they're going to take on at the end of the school year, or at the end of February rather. To set the stage for this historic event, one must go back to November of 1950 in history, when history recorded the coldest winters in Korean history. There's been many documentations about what the weather was like then, but we do have an official information on that. According to the accurate figures, the temperatures fell to 60 below zero in the daytime, and with the Siberian winds at nighttime went down to 116 below zeros. In 2003, I had the distinct honor of meeting Medal of Honor recipient General Raymond Davis. There he spoke to the national body of Korean veterans and told them about the adventure of the campaign at the Chosin Reservoir. One veteran asked, how bad was it there, to General Davis? General Davis replied, for those men who were there, they will never forget. And for those who were not there, will never know. And today I deem this an honor as a medical corpsman that I'm able to sit here and address these gentlemen today. A footnote to what I was saying before. I met General Davis in September, and 3 weeks later, after I had left Washington, D.C., he passed away. He was one of America's highest decorated officers in the Korean War, and we are deeply proud of him. Bill, yourself, and I know that you were very experienced with the Incheon landing and everything. Let's go there.
Well, the Incheon landing was in June, and his staff of MacArthur said that was a poor place to go in at because of the tide changed readily. In 5 hours it dropped 75 feet. So to get guys in and to make the landing, you would think you're not going to be able to do it. Well, we did. I was one of the unlucky ones. I was stuck out there in the mud because the tide went out. I could see the ship that MacArthur was on. He was out further out from me, but I could see nothing between us and the shoreline we could get. So the next morning we went aboard. I was on an LST and we had tanks to take in. So we made it into there and we went right away to Kimpo Airport, which is just outside of Seoul. And from there we moved into Seoul about 3 days later and took that capital, which let Sigmund Rhee to come back. And he left the Korea to itself. I'm sure these other gentlemen here, Jim, probably could tell you a few things too of their experience getting in there.
Jimmy, were you there at the Incheon landing?
Yes, I was at the Incheon landing.
Tell us something about that.
Well, we got there in LST. We landed there and tried to get in there. There was a small fire, so we got to there. Then from there we went to the city, Escom City, I believe, and then from there went to Yeongdong-po, where we discovered a brewery, and everybody was getting some of that beer. Then we crossed the Han River into Seoul, and there was quite a bit of fire going on there. And from there, we went north to Seoul. Then later on, we pulled back. After we got the 38 barrel, we came back and loaded up, and then went to Wonsan from there.
Was this the time that the Pusan perimeter was engaged there?
Yes. The Pusan perimeter was engaged in south over there, and a lot of the guys that I was with in China, they were at the Pusan perimeter, and I volunteered for it, but they told me they need behind.
Yes.
So I went later on to the Incheon landing.
I think a lot of people don't know that the Pusan perimeter was a very valuable campaign, because if we had lost that campaign there, we probably would have lost the war in Korea.
Oh, we probably had never made it on the Incheon landing.
I agree with
Because
that.
they'd have been off then.
Stan, what's your recollection of that?
Well, I made the Incheon landing also. I was a scout. And I went in ahead of time and then waited for the rest of them to come in, but there was very little firing, very little problems as I went in.
Mm-hmm.
And then went on into Seoul, and I got shot on the way to Seoul. So a little bit of firing going on there, but was able to go on and take Seoul. And the big thing that we were after there was to cut off the supply lines of the North Koreans, as they were down south, down by Busan, and we were able to go on and cut off those supply lines.
I see. Soldiers. And do you know anything about that, Jim?
Yeah, yes, there was, I think it was early November. They were at Chundae-ni, not before we go to the reservoir. The Chinese attacked the 7th Marines there, and they were actually outnumbered, and they fought for, I don't know, about 3 or 4 days. But we was over there. I got stuck with them. Me and his friend carried ammunition to them, and we couldn't get out of there. It was under fire all the time till the finally Chinese pulled out of there. But then from there on, that's before going to reservoir. It's Chundae-ni, was that the name of the city?
I think it was.
Yeah, Chundae-ni, yeah.
Really
To be quite frank, when we talked about the reservoir invasion there, what a lot of people don't know is that you were outnumbered about 30-1, which meant that when the Chinese army joined up with the North Koreans there before the attack in November, and when they crossed the Yalu River, according to history figures, it said there was something about 120,000 or more of Chinese soldiers, and being very heavily outnumbered, it was quite a scene. Stan, what do you recall about that part?
I don't remember when I first heard that. Well, before we went to the reservoir, I didn't know the Chinese were engaging at that point. The first that I heard about that is after I was up at the reservoir, and the Chinese came in at that point. I was at Hagaruri and was on a patrol north, and the Chinese were engaging some of our men that was up at the Yalu River, or up at the reservoir itself. And we came back and made a report at that time that there was a lot of Chinese coming from every direction.
Gentlemen, we know that the weather conditions, in fact, as a matter of fact, history said that was one of the coldest winters in Korea it had ever seen.